Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Mad Realms Talking Skritt. I'm your host, Jim, and, it's a... Oh boy, it's going to be a long one. We've got Icebrood Saga, Chapter 4, Judgment, the end of the Icebrood Saga, and then we've got... Honestly, I think that the biggest roadmap I've ever seen dropped for Guild Wars 2 in the history of Guild Wars 2. But before we get to that and a little bit more, let's get to our fellow hosts for this afternoon. First off, we have Arlie. She just thinks on the internet, I have no witty intro right now because I just drove for an hour through Pittsburgh traffic.
Oh.
Say hi to Arlie.
Hi. Yay.
Well, that was quick and easy.
I was going to say, I actually finished the story last night, so I'm good to go.
Okay. I totally forgot to ask that before we go in there, so.
Yeah.
Awesome to that. And he streams over on Twitch where he answers the age-old question, is every ending truly a new beginning? Say hello to Age.
Depends on your religion.
Very deep.
That's deep.
Well, speaking of religion, I suppose we could ask at least one religion's question there. So, Deo, as a high priest of Abaddon, what's your take on endings?
We have loads of secrets that we're not telling you. But we will prepare for the comments about all this stuff.
On bullshit. Very nice. Very nice. Okay. So, thank you, Kat, for vacating my desk. I guess that's the first thing we really got to hop into is we've got released not this past Tuesday, but the Tuesday before that. Or was it this past Tuesday? No, it was just this past Tuesday.
Yes, this past Tuesday.
God, I'm so used
It's fresh.
Yeah, it's fresh. So I'm going to drop the release notes here. I'm going to move on to our side panel so we have a little bit of a pretty stuff to scroll through. It's the Icebrood Saga, Chapter 4, Judgment. Release page is in chat. For those of you on YouTube, it'll be in the description. This is the very end. This is the end.
Yep.
The story episode that concludes the Icebrood Saga. There are apparently the instance that ends it. There's 3 modes to it. There's the story instance, which is single player 5 to 5 person for your standard instance needs. A public mode that is a world boss meta encounter every 2 hours, which is cool. And then a private mode for squads up to 50. The penultimate, the ultimate fight between Jormag and Primordius. So
now, is the private mode accessible at any time, or?
As far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, at least that's good.
Yeah. You have to get a group of 50 people at particular times.
Hey, I didn't know if it was going to be on the 2 hours schedule like that one.
Yeah.
TTS does it.
True. It's true.
But oh boy. Before we even dive into thoughts on the actual story and the actual justify the spoiler tag that we've got going here. Other notes, added gutturals to the following player emotes: Shiver, Play Dead, and Stretch, which I'm going to assume is non-word voice acting to all of those. The Elegant Artificer's Backpack recipe has been restored. I didn't realize it had been broken. 2 free Blackline keys in the Gemstar. I personally thought I cheated one. Because
I would say a lot of people did, and that's why I was confused. But when I went and streamed or did it on Thursday, I was like, oh yeah, there is no indication Actually, when you bought yours, did it just give you 2 keys?
No, you had to do it. You had to click the button twice.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't know if they changed it or something, because I clicked one and I thought I was gonna have 2 in my inventory in my mail, and I was like, oh no, I actually have to do it twice separately.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was just because I logged on Tuesday morning because I was working from home. I saw everybody going, oh hype, and I was logging on to do my DRM dailies just because it's been a really decent way to take a break from work, and it also gains me a bit of golden materials. And I just everything was super stuttery, and I got the free one, and then the Black Lion trading post window just kind of froze on me. So then I logged back on later, and I'm like, is it still frozen? And I saw it still had the 0 next to the key, and I'm like, oh, I get a second one because, you know, the server hiccuped or something. So
yeah, and like Chat's saying, it did say in the patch notes to claim up to or claim 2 free keys, and that's why I was so confused when everybody was saying it, because I thought maybe they just threw it in real quick and didn't bother changing the verbiage on it. But yeah, it is an interesting way that just go in and order it twice. But
right,
I guess that was just a quick, easy way to do it. But
yeah, I was gonna say it's because they have buy 1, buy 5, or buy 10, I think are the amounts. So there is no buy 2. Well, so I understand why they did it that way.
Haven't they done?
Well, but I mean, in the past when they've done that kind of things, they would just be like a bundle item that would just be like, well, you know. So that's why I was thinking, I was like, so yeah, I was just intrigued that they did it that way. But like I said, or maybe they're up against the whole limited space on the pages, or, you know.
Well, I mean,
there's probably an
also,
obvious reason.
I think they've done free single keys before in the past, but they've never done 2 before. So I think that was also confusing to people. Who are like, wait, we get 2?
But
I'll say, did anybody get anything good from it? Like even maybe some of the new stuff that's...
I didn't get anything new. I got the Orion truffle node for my home instance.
Ooh, nice. That's cool.
Could have sold it for 110 gold, but I didn't have it unlocked yet, so.
Yeah, I got a wardrobe unlocked. That wasn't anything spectacular. I got some more statuettes. Meh.
Age, anything?
I got the Seraph Wings backpack combo on my EU account, though.
Oh.
Got something, I guess, right?
Oh, yeah. I did get a revive orb, which was funny because I had just used up all of mine. Like, I had tons of them and just finally used through all of them recently. And I was in a situation where it would have been useful like last week. And so when I got one, I was like, oh, look at that. Now I have 1 revive orb again.
Well, that's good. Replenish that stuff. Yeah, I unfortunately am like Chat. I got nothing of value.
Yeah. Loot boxes.
Woo!
Yeah.
All right. And then the last things that's simple before we get to the stuff. New Spellfire Torch skin, which I totally forgot to grab a screenshot of. And then the Black Lion chest. They went back to the dye canister, the red dye canister for the guaranteed item. The Seraph Wings backpack and glider combo that Age mentioned. He got that on his EU account. The Mystic Smoking Pipe Warhorn skin. I actually got this last week. It is massive as a Warhorn skin. It's like the size of a scepter, just, in your offhand. The Orchestral Weapon Collection for uncommon. Rare is the Abaddon Weapon Collection, and then the Glyph of the Watch Knight and the Glyph of Virtue. I believe Watch Knight is the one that gives you sprockets when you harvest, and I can't remember what Virtue does.
I don't know.
Too heroic.
I'm not going to bother looking it up. The glyphs are too numerous and, quite frankly, minor in effect for me to really pay too much attention to.
Minor. It's also lumber and harvester.
Ow! Okay. I am going to get my dog out of the room and then close the door so that I don't start talking spoilers while my wife is out.
Oh, I thought you were worried that your dog would hear the spoilers. I was like, oh, that's very considerate of you.
Don't spoil Magni.
I wouldn't dare spoil Magni. Do. So hang on 1 second.
He's really going off screen to just internally scream at that pun right there.
Come here. Oh, grumble.
Well, since we have a moment, I looked it up, and the gift of virtue rewards bonus karma while gathering, which I didn't know was a thing that you could do.
I guess. I wonder if that stacks with the karma bonus
boosters or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. It says it. I don't think so, because it says it's not affected by karma boosters. It adds 3 to 5 karma to your harvesting results, and adds 1 to 3 karma to your logging results, and 1 to 3 karma to your mining results. So
Oh, and a little bit ago, or a couple seconds ago, we saw the cape that was one of the rewards. That's like a dragon scale cape. Did anybody like when I read like the release page on that and saw that, and it was like, oh, like basically you can get a scale from Primordus. Did anybody get like a quick flashback of WoW Cataclysm Dragon Scale fight or what? I'm like, nah,
Yeah.
no, like
Yeah.
lasting forever.
as soon as I saw the cape, I was actually like, oh god.
it is very Deathwing, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, it looks cool. I don't know if I have a single character that it would fit on.
Oh, always the problem that it boils down to with cosmetics. I love the look of it. It just wouldn't go with anything I have.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Chapter 4, Judgment.
Woo.
I remember sitting here on Thursday. I had my cup. And when I rolled into the first instance, I remember saying very clearly, to those about to die, we salute you. And I think it was either Mofongo or Hat in chat who was just like, are you going into this completely blind? And I'm like, yes. Yes, I am. But, quick rundown. We figure out that Aurene can somehow attract the dragons to a ley line crossing to cause a confrontation. We trigger that confrontation, and Jormag and Primordus annihilate each other.
Yay.
Both of the champions survive the encounter after we punch the crap out of them repeatedly. And then there is a, quite frankly, incredibly emotional confrontation between Ritlock, Krisha.
Yeah, we get Bram out. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
You press F
I thought
to
you meant-
dig Bram.
Yes.
I thought that's what you were talking about.
Well, we didn't have to press F to pay respects this time. I didn't want to do that again. Although,
Yeah, there's been enough of that in his family.
I was honestly expecting that to happen. I was fully going into this expecting Bram to die.
Oh yeah, I 100% expected that. I was really kind of surprised he survived.
But
Yeah,
And
especially
also-
with how he changed or how
Yes.
it affected him.
I was
That's all I
also
got.
surprised that the wild spirits also survived. Like I figured they at the very least would perish,
Right.
you know.
But finally, it ends with Ryland not backing down, and Ritlock has to kill him.
Well, like the thing is like yes, Ritlock pretty much is forced into killing him, but like he was taking. This is the thing that like surprised me. He was taking one final stab at Krisha. And like I would have thought if anybody he would take a final stab at Ritlock because it always seemed like Ritlock was who he hated the most, you know?
Well, considering
So-
what
At that
Krisha,
point, he just hated both of them.
and considering
Yeah.
what Krisha had just said to him, but
Oh, that's fair.
But,
yeah.
but the last thing mentioned to sum up everything is Aurene did not absorb everything that escaped the confrontation between the two. So,
In fact, most of it she didn't absorb.
right. So
I
let's
thought you could, but you couldn't.
let's run it round the bend, ladies and gentlemen. Thoughts, things you want to talk about.
I mean, obviously Kunavang must have gotten in there and done something. Clearly, right?
I'd expect that level
And
of
I was gonna
tinfoil
say,
from Deo.
Well, and I was gonna say it's the one thing I went back and rewatched the End of Dragons trailer, and we still have what we always assumed is the deep sea dragon possibly talking to Kunavang. So, yeah, I wonder if I wonder what powers did get or Aurene didn't absorb, because one thing that's interesting, and I don't know if we talk about the kind of the overarching story in general, I'll probably talk about it, my thoughts, but it, you know, they heavily talk about for the last chapter there or whatever, Jormag and Primordus are linked. What if that was part of their power or something, and that went into the ley line energy? What if that maybe goes to Kunavang and maybe the deep sea dragon? Maybe now they're linked, or something along the lines of now they're all linked, and this maybe is what
The
leads to the
twinning
end of.
is actually magically twinning. Like
And I mean,
okay.
it is something to think about, because we did, if there is a link between the gods and the dragons, which they, it seems like they can share kind of the magic type of thing. There was technically a twin god, like the Mesmer god. Wow, Lissa, she was actually two people intertwined. Yeah, it's Liss and Sa.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
what if when that utilization of that power was just put into one god technically, but in the dragons they were literally linked? But yeah, what if this leads into that whole end of dragons? Like, now that power's dissipated across them all, that, heck, maybe if we kill them, we might wipe out all the dragons that can tap into that magic, or whoever shared that pool, because that could be the out of saying, oh, Irene will stick around because she didn't absorb that portion of the magic that had that quality in it, or who knows, but
Yeah, I think it's very obvious that deep magic went somewhere else since it flew past her. But I don't know. I don't know if because Irene is the crystal dragon, she has that ability now. Because technically, I don't think Glint was a corrupted dragon anyway, really, right?
well,
Oh.
she was originally, and then by the time we've ever met her, the Forgotten did because she was Kralkatorik's minion or whatever originally, but
like,
so she
when we
was
met
a
her,
corrupted
right?
dragon. What's that?
When we met her,
Oh yeah, she was not corrupted.
exactly. So I was thinking maybe that kind of ability transferred over to Irene, maybe, so she can't get corrupted. But I think most of that magic either went to one of the gods that supposedly left, or definitely Steve / Bubbles at this point. But
Or maybe the one that got the one god that got kept back. Sorry.
No,
Yes.
but it could be Kunavang.
I've been on riding Kunavang. No, okay.
No, dragons in Guild, like, there's no like we've got wyverns, but if something is called a dragon,
they're a dragon.
It's a dragon, and like.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, it's just like the concept of dragon, like, say in real life, we've got, Western and Eastern dragons and different styles, and then, got all the different mythologies of things that are dragons. If something is a dragon in Guild Wars 2, they subsist primarily off of magic. Elder dragons are literally just dragons that have been around for so long, that have absorbed so much magic that they are forces of nature. So Kunavang is a dragon, right? Like, subsists off of magic.
Yes.
As far as we know.
Yeah.
Okay. Jinx.
And I mean, with all the other dragons that because Kunavang actually had other serpent-like dragons, and I think either we speculate on it, I don't remember the raid, but the raid that took you to one of the more recent ones that people were excited about, but because it was in what is it, the Vault one or something?
Oh, in the Mystic Forge?
Was it the Mystic Forge? No, it's
the Kadim's Vault.
Yeah, I think it was that one. That area was previously in Guild Wars 1, where you found a serpent-like dragon similar to Kunavang's style, or
I think like what 7-Bit saying in chat, I think we'll get like some sort of epilogue stuff, because to set up End of Dragons, because right now it's not flowing properly. We are like, there's no reason to go to Cantha right now.
Yeah, it's true.
So.
Yep.
And then we did get Bangar talking all leading up to Icebrood Saga champions.
So Bangar is actually in the hospital right now. If you talk to like the right NPC,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
that'll be interesting.
Which makes me wonder if he's going to end up being like a primary story character moving forward.
It'd be interesting if
'Cause
they
we
do
always-
something with him. Yeah.
Is
I was
he
gonna say
gonna
we
be,
always
like,
love picking up the formerly bad people, so maybe Kanak runs off and then we get Bangar in our group.
Oh man, if Bangar can reach Canuck level of like sarcasm and stuff, I'd be good. I'd be all right with it.
Vegeta.
Oh, just
of
imagine that
Village
snark
too.
between him and Ritlock and being like, "Hey, what about your son?" Like,
No. I'm perfectly on board with literally what Age just said. Is he's Vegeta. Like, because think about it. Age, you're brilliant. It dovetails perfectly with the Majin arc, where he willingly takes power from another entity to become stronger, and then we beat the crap out of him anyway, and then Goku beats the crap out of him anyway, and the Commander beat the crap out of Bangar anyway. We won, and then he just like, okay, fine.
He didn't
Wait, so
sacrifice
what?
himself for us, but
So what you're trying to say is, End of Dragons, it's going to be because, remember in the core gameplay, Fort Trinity was protected by a blue orb that everybody thought was a deep sea dragon artifact thing, but we're going to have to collect all the orbs from the different elementals of the dragons to maybe summon Arene to be a super powerful dragon. Yeah, it's really sound like Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah. Well, and don't forget, Char has the proper haircut.
Yeah.
True. It was the long play all along.
But
I wanted to comment on what 7-Bit just said. He was asking why Bram loses all trace of being the dragon champion, whereas Ryland didn't. And I was going to say my interpretation of that is because Bram let it go. Like, he wasn't trying to hold on to anything. He just let it go. Whereas Ryland was fighting tooth and claw to hold on to everything he could. And I think that mental difference probably made the difference about of letting that power go or not.
Ironic that the ice one couldn't let it go, but
oh,
but honestly, to dovetail with that, because I know a lot of people had an issue with like the story portion of it, and and this is where I want the clarification is like, did people hate the story or the pacing? Because I can understand the pacing.
It was really quick. It was much quicker than expected.
Well,
Yeah.
and that was the thing I was asking people about, because for I basically did like the first DRM and then kind of just wasn't really playing that much. So literally Thursday, I played like the rest of all the DRMs and then this. So I was I was like, this just seemed so fast, and unfortunately the combat didn't vary all that much, that by the time I got to that fight between like where you're fighting Ryland and Bram and like there's actually mechanic, I'm like, I'm so numb to this, I don't even care, that because they were like hitting me but they weren't hurting me, so it wasn't like enough to do anything.
mm-hmm.
So I'm like, oh, I just gotta get rid of the, and this was already 3 hours in, like it was already getting to like midnight, so I was also probably being tired.
Because
But it
I
was
started.
just,
Oh, God.
well, I was just gonna say, after all the DRMs where it was just kill these waves and stuff, it made it I don't know. So I was curious if people that just played that, did they have maybe more fun with the fight, or, and like I said, the pacing, and I know a lot of people were saying even separated, the pacing still seemed fast in that sense. So yeah, I was just curious of your guys' thoughts on.
Concerning the final fight, again, I'm sorry, Hat, but it was either Hat or Mofongo in chat was saying that they wished that they could have seen more of the allied factions in the final fight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like not having huge deals with it, but like have Tengu archers standing next to the prism crystals, have like Skritt bombers just randomly throwing grenades everywhere, have some of your allied faction abilities be usable in the final instance, that kind of thing. And I get that.
I was gonna say, I do remember seeing like Tengu fighting and seeing some Koden fighting and all of that, but like I was surprised that I didn't see any Exalted around. You know, I figured like
Yeah.
all of them would be there. So yeah, I can totally understand that too.
Um, oh, and 7-Bit says the group fight is much better than the solo fight. Well, I'd have
I
to go
think
back
it's
and do at least the
better.
public instance and see what that's like.
I think it's better at making it feel like a big
Grandiose
catastrophic, like, you know,
Combat.
dragon
a
fight.
war.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
I did also like to highlight again 7-Bit. Quote, also, something wrong with Aurene. She straight up says she tried to contain it, but it went right through her like she wasn't even there, referring to the magic released from the two dragons annihilating. This is what she was made for, and she 100% failed. Aurene is not made to contain magic.
Well,
That is my posit here. Aurene is a prism. Prisms do not contain.
yeah.
And that's what she even says at the beginning, or kind of like for me, it's all kind of muddled together because, like I said, I wasn't sure where it fully separated. But she even says that something about that at the before you either go in the fight or at the end of whatever the last one was, where she says like, you know, that is my power, is I am I'm the crystal dragon.
Well, I think there was a comment about like in reference to how do you separate the different bands of magic, and they referenced it to light, and Tammy was like, ooh, a prism, that's how you do it, and that's where the idea of using Aurene in that way came from. I also, like I said, I think it was, whether it's Kunavang or the sea dragon or something else, was aware enough to be ready and could just pull it from her. Like, you have to remember, Aurene is an elder dragon, but she's not an elder dragon because she's been around for so long, sucking on all this stuff. She got a huge influx of magic at one point, which pushed her over the edge to being an elder dragon.
Baby
So,
elder dragon.
what?
Baby elder dragon.
Yes. So it is quite possible there are things that she doesn't truly understand. And she even made a comment about that when she said something about foresight isn't isn't perfect because things don't always necessarily happen exactly the way you interpret from what you can see, which is interesting.
Yeah, I just don't think she's the type of dragon to absorb magic. That's all. But I think it's going back to the instance fight. I didn't like how they made the elder dragons fight with like just their heads there. I talked about it when I was playing it. As like, I would much rather them being fighting in the air, like above us, and like doing things, and then they come down for that instance where like we either have to do a break bar, or when we actually like kill both Bram and Ryland in those instances. I think it would have been much more immersive in that sense and more realistic, because I don't think for like 10 minutes Dramatic and Premise are just going to sit there with their heads there for 10 minutes.
I need to go back through my Twitter notifications because I remember Tom Abernathy retweeting concept art for Jormag and Primordius. There it is. I'm going to grab this and throw this in chat. It'll be in the description for YouTube. Neither of them have wings. So
it needed to be know what I mean.
Well, no, I know what you mean, but I was just thinking about that. I'm like thinking like instead of them doing like their breath attacks and stuff is like the arena hazards, like them like tackling each other, and they'd be like tumbling over the area where we were. So like that would be the thing is you would be avoiding. You'd be trying to avoid one of them stepping on you. Or like falling on top of you. So yeah, I told like one of the coolest parts I saw was at the very end when they like tackled each other. Just because of the sheer scale, because like we were just down there.
Yeah.
Like it gives you the sense of scale there. So I agree with you, Age. Like it would have been a lot cooler if they would have been like more out instead of just like like coming up out of the ground and stuck in an ice storm.
Well, that what 7-bit just pointed out with like what it could handle. I was thinking about it, and this is something that they've always kind of struggled with because, like, you think about all the other Elder Dragon fights we've had, they've been good in certain aspects, but they've always been flawed because for whatever reason, like with the Zaitan.
Lighting.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Zaitan.
I was like, I forgot the first dragon's name. Was Zaitan. That was, I like that because, you know, he's like big and we're fighting on a ship and we needed other people to help us. But at the same time, I totally understand how that felt underwhelming because it did feel kind of underwhelming, you know? Right.
One.
Exactly. And then you did Mortemoth where they tried to make it feel more epic by having the two-prong battle, but the way it was communicated and let both of those things were happening at the same time didn't necessarily come across, especially if you just went straight through the story, and didn't pick up on all of those other things. And like, I think ideally for that one, you do the world battle outside first, and then you do the one with him inside. And I don't think that's the order most people probably experienced it in. Yeah. So that affected it too. And then, you know, potato Mortemoth in his head. That's a whole thing.
I think one of the problems is that people tend to forget that, like, when you are not in an instance, you are not the commander.
Yeah.
So, like, it's kind of the thing where you have to, like, if you're in instance combat, you are the commander. We are all the commander when we're in our own instance. When you're outside of the commander, you are someone else entirely, a member of the pact.
One of the heroes who help people.
So it's like, how can I be outside fighting the mouth of Mortemoth and fighting the mind of Mortemoth at the same time? Well, it's because you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're an elite soldier, because I think that's kind of how they referred to you, like when they first started when they first in Heart of Thorns talked about the first raid. They're like, "Oh, we gathered an elite group of like, you know, pack members or something," and which are all of us.
Yeah, and I think with Kralkatorrik, they tried to address that some, where we had those things where we were flying on Aurene and fighting and stuff, and that was really cool. But, you know, there were parts of that, you know, had their own issues and stuff. And I think when you're doing something on this kind of scale, there are always going to be compromises you have to make about it.
That and, like, I guess they kind of had to do the whole instance because I can only imagine with 50 people, with the spell effects of 50 people, I really don't think the engine would have been able to handle.
It's more of a background rendering that you just need to do. It's less pixels you're using in that case, but you still get the idea that they're fighting in the background. So it's like one side of the area they're fighting.
But I feel like if they just had them rendered in the background fighting, there would still be people who would complain because they would be upset that it didn't feel like they were part of the fight because they were just
fighting in front of it or something. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And that's why I said you bring in the heads at some intervals of the fight, just to make more sense. Like, I feel like there's just a better way to make that fight feel more realistic.
All in all, go ahead.
I still feel like the Shadow Colossus thing is still a thing you could do, but it would be like the dragon is the map, and you have enemies. Like, the way I picture it, like one of the fights, especially Zaitan, is just that you render the dragon as like the entire map as like the land mass, and then you have enemies on top of the dragon. But
breaking off the plates and keeping the dragon from spinning around to throw you off, basically.
Oh god, I'm having flashbacks.
That's why I said I was like, oh no.
No, it's the dragon.
I'm sorry.
So, for example, I think like one of the fights that could have benefited from that was the Kralkatorrik fight, when Kralkatorrik was flying through the mist.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So when Kralkatorrik's flying through the mist, we're on the back of it trying to get to its head to like maybe like make it crash, for example. And then as you're going through the mist, some of those enemies from the mist land on its back and then try to like attack you, just for like argument's sake, for example. And that's the type of fight that I would see. That's the type of fight I could see what's happening, because what you do is you move the area around you. You don't necessarily render the dragon per se at that point, because the dragon is the landmass.
Right.
Yeah.
That's getting a little technical. I should stop now on
No, I get that too, because like even if to go back to the judgment fight, like since the rig, like they wouldn't need rigs because they're not going to have collision aside from when they become terrain obstacles. They wouldn't necessarily need to have super high resolution textures because they're moving and they're also like out, like the dragons we see flying overhead in Ore. They're not using the full resolution images for like the Orion dragons. They don't have rigging or collision because they're just models moving around. They don't have they don't have enemy data, they don't have cooldowns. It's just they're there. So it could have been done, yeah, but I'd imagine like not only do we still have work from home restrictions on stuff, they also had to worry about, having to support the instance being roughly the same with 50 people with the particle effects of that, and we already know how things go in like Lion's Arch loading in, and people are just standing around there. So yeah, budget time.
I'm gonna say time mostly impacted that because I still feel like it could have been better, but yeah.
That is one of the complaints I saw was being leveled, is that like people very much feel like the end of Icebrood Saga was cannibalized for End of Dragon's development.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably some amount of truth to that. Like,
Well,
I
honestly, oh, go. Yeah, finish your thought. Sorry.
I was going to say, because, like, we know that originally they weren't necessarily planning to do another expansion so soon. So they had to pivot and change some things. So that's true. But, like, I don't know. Like, I see the issues with it, and there are definitely things that I feel like they could have done better given various variables. But I still enjoyed it. Like I said, the whole little story chunk was shorter than I thought it would be, but I had fun with it. It was interesting, and I like that they gave us multiple different versions of it that we could do. Like the story one, I feel like is probably the least epic feeling one of all of it, but like they have to do that because locking story against doing stuff with other people can be problematic, So
Yeah.
So what 7-Bit said, it felt like an average fight to me. I think that's the problem. Like at the finale of the Icebrood Saga Champions Chapter 4 Judgment, like you expect it to be like a epic fight, but it shouldn't be average.
Yeah,
I
I
think
was
that's
gonna
what
say,
people's problems are.
as I was, I mean, if we're talking about the story version of it, we're fighting 2 elder dragons and they're champions, and like I said, by the end of it, I was so numbed by all the other stuff that I did that night. When I got hit, I didn't really even have to worry about my health. Like I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, and honestly, it just felt like whittling at a bar, because if you did get their CC bar down, it just went like back. I'm like, I can do like maybe 2 moves while they're down. I'm like,
well, that's
I really don't feel like there was a good there wasn't a reason for me to prioritize CCing them. So I'm just
yes, that was definitely a problem because I didn't have much of a trouble getting the CC bar down, but it didn't seem like it really ever stunned them that much. It felt completely pointless.
Oh, you were
it was just to break the lock that they had.
Yeah.
That CC.
Yeah, I mean,
not when they were in the fight, like in their own little bubble fight. That was easy to do, but during like when they're running around at each other, and just pick
break
one to
their
fight.
Break bar.
Yeah, when you're breaking their
break
bar on that one, there's literally no point.
Yeah, it was a pain in the butt.
Yeah, I did not try to CC them at that point.
Yeah, I gave up after the first and just used fire and lightning as my 2 and didn't worry about it very much because the window for doing good damage while they were stunned was just so short. Unlike Deo, I did go down a few times and I actually got killed. So I did take some significant damage doing it. But yeah, I wish the break bar had done more. Thanks for reminding me about
I
that. It was
understand.
really frustrating.
Were you playing on Hazra, Deo?
Yeah.
Okay, well, your Herald build is significantly tankier than I think either of the builds that me or Arlie use.
Yeah.
It's the power of my prophecies build. I mean, I'm just saying. I had the power of Guild Wars 1 behind me. Which, honestly, when I was doing that, it was kind of ironic when Aurene was talking, and so was Jormag through this was during one of the lead-up ones, not the actual one. And I was sitting in my dragon stance. All of a sudden, Glint does her like little speech. But I'm like, enough. I'm like, oh wait, no, you just want to talk to your fellow dragons.
Yeah.
My apologies. But
Yeah.
It was weirdly fitting.
So 7-bit, they do actually stun. I did see them weave around, but it lasted for like a second. It was very much blink and you missed it. And then while they were recharging their bar, they were back doing all the same abilities. It didn't really prevent much of anything at all, which was the frustrating part.
Oh, I think I know.
Yeah, that was
in the group fight that I had to like stop an ability from going off. That was I found out enough time in a group setting. I didn't realize it. I didn't see because there were two things that were different from the story from the world fight, and it was that ability, like stopping them from using a big ability, and there were more prisms to or more of the Jormag and Primordus prisms to kill.
Right.
Those are the
Interesting.
two differences.
Oh, but see, that was my thing. Is like, you know, we're talking about the average of a fight, but like you're saying, it was between 2 Elder Dragons and 2 of their champions. And funny enough, and I know this was always a big complaint about things, but it made me think about it, was I wouldn't even have to have been there. You know what we should have did? We should have just malfunctioned Timey's robot guy, because that thing messed us up that one time during the story instance.
Yeah. No.
That thing was more deadly than them 2 combined, and 2 Elder Dragons.
No, I can't take the mental stress of blowing up Scruffy again. I don't want to do that.
No, we just rewire that one. That thing freaking messed everybody up.
I will admit one thing that I actually died. I died once in the instance because I did not time the blast going into Jormag's face correctly.
Oh,
you don't.
You can do that?
Yeah, you don't sit and float. In front of them. You have to. If you don't press the button at the right time, you fly right past their face and into their magic storm. And
I didn't think you could possibly mess that up because I was super slow on it, and like I would just sit there and be like, "Oh, I need to hit that." Like,
yeah, I was gonna say you did it on Thursday as well, right, Jim? Okay, because I was gonna say I was wondering if you did it on Tuesday, and I was like, did they change that in the? Because I was like, when I did that, I hit the button too early and it didn't do anything, and I was like. I was like, is it loading an animation or something? And I'm like, I was waiting, and I was like, oh no, it never triggered. Like, and I did that a couple of times, so that's why I'm shocked.
I did that too, once or twice.
Yeah,
but
I'm
like there were
like,
other times where like I flew and I get distracted and I look and I'd just be sitting in front of it. I was like, oh, I gotta hit that button.
I did.
My bad.
Like there was no point in time where I sat floating in front of their face to press the button. I just like launched in an arc, and if I wasn't spamming the button, I just flew right past their face and hit the ground and died. Because of the storm of magic in front of them.
Wow.
Which kind of would have been interesting to have like a kind of, again, this is one of the things that I suppose might have been thought of, because if we're thinking about it, I'm pretty sure the people who designed it might have thought about it. Like with I thought you had to get them knocked down, like in the phase where you had to whittle down both Bangar and, not Bangar, both Rylan and Bram. Like you had to whittle them down at the same time.
I did that the first time, and then when I realized there's really nothing to this fight, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
there's really no mechanics.
Like if there would have been some kind of ebb and flow back between the two of them, or more to do, like to sabotage the other, to keep, because like that's what 7-bit's saying is like our whole point was to try and keep the fight as even as possible, so they exhausted each other, and then like when they went in for it, they would annihilate each other. Like I kind of wish there was more of a back and forth there.
Yeah.
But again, timing and
my
everything.
guess, I was gonna say, my guess is the difference between the group one and the story one is I think it was built in balanced for the
Anyone.
big fight with all the people,
Oh.
and then it was scaled down. And when you scale down that much, I think it just by nature ended up trivializing some of the parts of it.
Yeah.
Well, and they always say in the past where they, make this story kind of so anybody can see the
Mhm.
story. So,
Right.
but it just, it, like I said, fighting Timy's robot in, what was it? What was the,
Scruffy. I don't remember
well,
what instance it was.
it was the first kingdom or whatever. I just forget the name of it in the Nightfall
Oh, the
area.
first Rata, the Rata
No,
something.
the human first settlement. Well, actually,
Oh,
there was a Asuran lab in
a
there, but
moon or
yeah,
something.
I
I
forget
don't know.
what the name of it was, but
Yeah.
that's where it goes haywire and starts like basically put that AOE down. But I'm like, I guess they just didn't want that to happen again. But I'm like, yeah, Scruffy 2.0 that flipped out on us was more deadly than both like this.
Now, Age, did you say you did the public instance?
Yeah.
Did it feel any better, or was it just?
It was better in terms of just the overall engagement of the fight. The other thing that mattered was the actual. You have to kill them at the same time too.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just figured that when I was doing the story, I'm like, oh, this is supposed to be for the world boss instance, and yeah, it was.
Yeah, I think that's part of what I was trying to say was I think that's something that they removed when they scaled it down, because having one person trying to do all of that and not having a lot of leeway would have been extremely frustrating for probably a lot of the community.
I did it every
Yeah,
time.
like chat saying, it was foreigner. Like I said, I couldn't.
Nah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
But okay, so that's the end of
Well,
Icebrood Saga. Wait, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, we talked about kind of like the I guess cadence of it, or like the though I'm curious your thoughts of the actual story behind it. What did you guys think? Because I know a lot of people, like I said, and that's why I'm curious, is a lot of people just said I didn't like the story, which it's like, did you not like the pacing of it, which I totally agree with, but I actually liked the story. And
Yeah.
I mean,
I enjoyed the story itself and what they were doing and the way things went. That was interesting to me and had me engaged, but the pacing, I agree, was a little.
Well, that was actually where I was going to go with it. So, like, Icebrood Saga as a whole, we're done. Like, obviously, we talked before, we've got the epilogue stuff, which I don't know if you want to roll that into, like, EOD prologue, or you want to call that Icebrood Saga epilogue, but I'm just going to leave that out for now. Icebrood Saga right now, Whispers in the Dark to Champion's Judgment. What are we thinking? As a story. Okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed the whole thing, really. So
well, I like it as a story, though. You screwed the Norn over. I mean, you didn't we needed our own full story, but that's just prejudice.
I think you mean bias, Deo.
yes,
It's a form of it. But yeah, I do. My bad. Yeah, I just and I think it goes back to what we were saying of they had to pull back on that whole like making an like now they're gonna make an expansion. Did we really need to call this a saga? Like, and technically by definition it is a saga, but guess what? We had something like this that branched over one section. It was called Seasons.
yeah.
Like,
It's rebranding probably just to spark.
Well,
Yeah.
originally it was supposed to be like the story and them showing how they can deliver expansion like content without an expansion. That was the original brainchild of it.
People
And then they got a gift.
Well, that, and also people didn't, like, they were expecting the upfront burst of content like an expansion, when they were trying to
Right.
show that, like, look, we can give you an expansion just like
Parsed out. Mm-hmm.
And kind of like, as we're talking about this, and I see like Chad talking about the Bram stuff, it's like, and I think a lot of people maybe didn't connect these two dots of like, oh, Bram should have died. I think because this whole thing's like Bram's story arc. I think because he became the, moody crybaby, all the words people said about him, of like
Mm-hmm.
dealing with the loss in his family and forging his
Losses,
own
but
legend.
yes.
Yeah. And I think him doing that and dealing with that and going through, the trials from the different spirits and pulling that parts out of him,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what they were trying to show, is because, like you said earlier, both champions did live through that fight, but one, and this was a problem with Bram early on until he learned, one held on to his anger and stuff like that, and he wound up dead, and that was
Island.
Ryland. I want to say Rocks, but I was like, no, it's a different R with a Char.
Learn to tell Char apart. Oh my god.
I don't know.
See, I told you I was right. Prejudice. No. Whoops. No, but well, hey, to be fair, Rocks came back with all this stuff, and I was great. I mean, granted, prior, but it was great to see her stuff again. But
Yeah.
Well, and I suppose it's kind of that thing of like the whole prophecy thing. It's just like we have precedent for prophecies to be correct, and it's just like the whole Norn of Prophecy thing was very, very adamant about the fact that either the Norn of Prophecy lives and Jormag dies, or it's the other way around. So if Jormag's gone and Bram is still here,
Right.
well, that's like the thing that was going to happen. There's really no
Oh,
wiggle room there. So
you just reminded me of my big question, but finish what you were saying.
Well, it's just like if we would have found Bram dead in the snow, we would have been like, well, shit. Jormag's still alive.
Right.
So
So everybody else is all like, oh, what happened to the magic? Blah, blah. And, that's an important question. But my big question is, where's Air's bow? Like, what the shit? Because Ryland didn't have it during that last fight. Where is it? What happened?
ooh, that is
So
interesting.
yeah.
I want to know.
Wait, did anybody ever loot his corpse? Oh crap! Did he have sparkles coming out of him?
We forgot to loot him.
Oh,
Yeah, I know
chat's saying
Ryland said he
hid.
hid it, but like, I want to know where it is. Like, are we going to go on a quest to find it now? Because
hope
I
so.
don't
He
think
hid it
that's
in
something...
Cantha. Ooh, that's how we get there. He's like, I mailed it, suckers. I put it on Kunavang's back, and he sailed it to Cantha.
I don't know. You know what? It's entirely possible that that might be our new legendary, because
Ooh.
I'm ham-fisting this transition because we're getting new legendaries, ladies and gentlemen, which was told to us in, quite frankly, a massive roadmap. I'm sorry to cut the story short, because I know if we talk about story, we're going to be here for another hour.
Yeah.
And all of this is going to be another thing that's going to take a whole nother hour. And then there's a balance patch that's going to take a whole nother hour. But, ArenaNet's summer 2021 plans for Guild Wars 2. I am going to grab the link with the roadmap. It's going to go in chat. YouTube, again, the usual. On July 27th, we are getting our first look at End of Dragons. Our first major step on the journey to Cantha is coming soon. On July 27th, join us for a live stream event with a tidal wave of information about the third Guild Wars 2 expansion, including features, an introduction to the story, a new trailer video, and Elite Specialization beta event information. Keep an eye on the website and our official channels for more details about the event as July 27th approaches, but for now, save the date. And then they have a little image that shows a whole bunch of stuff. There's going to be, we're going to go over this as we talk about it. May 11th, a skills and balance update. This update includes changes to boons and conditions. making sure that professions can take advantage of the changes and increasing the viability of several underused elite specializations. They did preview this. We will talk about this in another section because, hoo boy, there's a lot to talk about. We're not going to get into the weeds on that right now.
Oh, come on.
No. Silence. I need to get through this, and then we need to talk about the individual points of this before we get to that. Beginning May 25th, Living World Complete the Cycle. Starting May 25th, Living World episodes will be in the Spotlight chronologically. Episodes are free to unlock during their Spotlight week, and we'll update them with new achievements. Complete all of the new Living World Season 2 and 3 achievements to earn a voucher for a Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons precursor weapon. When the expansion launches, you can redeem it and begin crafting your very own 3rd generation legendary weapon. So there we are, Gen 3 legendaries confirmed. Which I know Hat mentioned that we already have multiple versions of her bow. Yes, but they're all gem. They're
Probably won't do it.
Yeah, I know. They're all gem store skins, so like there's no official in-game version of Air's bow being like a thing we can have. So I mean, you're right, Age. They probably won't, but it maybe if they have like some kind of Fire Frost theme going with the bow, it would be really cool as a legendary.
Yeah.
Because they already shown with the trinket we got for completing Icebrood Saga, you can do the Fire Frost looking stuff.
Also, I gotta say, the way they announced this, to me, just assuming that they learned previous lessons and stuff, that I think the intention is that when the expansion comes, all of the Gen 3 ones will be craftable and makeable.
Well,
we won't wait for them to be parsed out.
Considering they're not going into this trying to come up with quests like they did with Gen 2, and they're just going to throw a shit ton of materials at it and hope for the best. Yeah. I mean, that's not going to be too difficult. Then they just have to do the art. Which, again, I'm super disappointed in, but I understand the economy of time on it.
Yeah.
As you do. Another bit. After completing the new meta achievement for all 3 playable Living World seasons, 2, 3, and 4, and the Icebrood Saga, you'll receive a legendary amulet as a powerful reminder of your role in shaping Tyria's destiny. The new achievements and their rewards will be available permanently.
I'm so excited about that. I need a legendary amulet.
Yeah, and 7-bit, I know, I love the quests and collections too, because it actually told a story about the weapon in the world, and I love that, but I also understand that took a lot of time to develop. They did the writing, and sometimes even voice acting, and people were getting antsy. Like, I know people bitched up a storm when we didn't have just all of the Gen 2 legendaries as soon as Heart of Thorns dropped. And I know they wanted to avoid having that happen again, so...
And then when we were going into Path of Fire, we still didn't have all of the Gen 2 ones. It was a thing. Yeah.
Like, it's disappointing that they decided to axe the story, because, like, I want to know the story of Exordium. Like, you gotta know that somebody coming up with Exordium must have like some idea of how it fits into the game. What about the hammer? The Orion hammer? Like... That's got to have a story. Can you imagine getting more lore out of ore?
Or even like the Shining Blade and how we get that.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
That would be an amazing story.
But the new, like, you get a legendary amulet for free. Okay, yes, cool, thank you. Free. I don't know. It remains to be seen what these achievements are.
Jesus.
Are you okay?
My cat just decided to turn around, but she needed to use all of her nails on my leg to do it.
Oh, so like the drag turn.
Yeah.
Latching into skin. Got it.
Sorry.
New legendary, which is great for a reason to be talked about here shortly. Another thing, July 13th, the Twisted Marionette. Bonus event. Shortly before she launched her war on the Iron's Arch, Scarlet used Lornar's Pass as a testing ground for her colossal watchwork superweapon, the Twisted Marionette. An army of heroes organized a 3-pronged assault strategy, destroying Scarlet's forces, surviving the Marionette's attacks, and severing the chains tethering it to the Breachmaker.
Ooh.
And now we don't have to guest over to Blackgate to finish it.
Yes.
Because this was pre-Heart of Thorns and pre-Mega servers.
Yeah.
I'm actually really excited about this because we get to see little baby Guild Wars 2 players deal with Scarlet.
I'm curious if it's going to be this exactly the same as it was, or if they're going to make some changes to it. Because like it was really good, but the game has changed so much since then, and I think a lot of what made it hard back then wouldn't be difficult now.
Yeah, especially with a lot of balance changes. It says they're making changes to bring it up to date. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yay.
Welcome back, Deo.
Sorry about that.
Did you have to release the Hounds of Balthazar?
Yeah, you heard about the magic that Irene didn't pick up, so
Okay. have to go chase after that. Well,
Yeah.
we talked about the marionette, and I mentioned how we don't have to guest over to Blackgate to fix it anymore.
Finish.
Finish it, yeah. And then we talked about you do all the new achievements for all the re-releases of all the story chapters to get the legendary amulet. Well, that's a great thing because on July 13th we're getting the legendary armory.
Yay!
Once a legendary item is added to the armory, it will be available to every level 80 character on your account. This will be free. Now, Age, I see you have thing on here about a question arose due to build templates debacle. Care to expound upon that?
So, because build templates wasn't free and it was a gem store purchasable thing, people begin to wonder why, if legendary armory would be a gem store thing, or would we have to use gems to buy slots, etc., etc.
Right.
And personally, I did not even think about that until people
I
started
did.
asking, and that just shows that is a problem now, because people are always going to have that in the back of their heads because of build templates. So and what kind of frustrated me more was people saying, "Oh, thank you." It's like, "Thank you for making it free." I'm like, that just bothers me a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, that's so just so you know, the feature is free. I don't. I think Inks even asked if there was like a gold cost, but I don't think so. So it's just like if you have legendary, put it in the armory type of deal.
I would imagine it just automatically adds it to it the second you bind it to the character.
I
I
would hope so.
I don't know, honestly.
Yeah.
And I personally, I don't think, like, even if that was a question people had, I don't think it would be, just because I don't imagine a lot of people have a lot of legendaries, like maybe like over 3. Like a very small majority have over 3.
People not named Age Night Road.
Well, if you're thinking just legendary weapons, but you've also got legendary armor, you've got the trinkets, you've got the other things.
Trinkets aside, because those are seasonal. Yeah, I'm talking more about armor and weapons, because I feel like those are the ones that are mostly that people would want to swap around type of deal. Because if you have one medium, you would have it for like any, like a thief, ranger, engineer, like heavy, all that stuff. But yeah.
But I mean, if they didn't include the other legendaries in it, like that would be really disappointing to me.
No, they said everything. So upgrades.
If it's a legendary, so I'd imagine even the runes and sigils will be available through it. So if you technically have the availability for every legendary, you will never have to outfit a character ever again.
Well, once they get to 80, but yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I guess my question is, how do you think they would have monetized the armory? Like
I don't think I don't think they get much benefit out of monetizing it.
Well, I was gonna say, would they require 1 gem for a switch? Like, and that's why I think people were kind of overreacting with the template thing.
It'd be for slots, like weapon slots, armor slots.
Like you have X number of legendary armory slots.
That you can
have to buy, like you would be limited to the number of things you had in the legendary armory.
Yeah.
and then you'd have
I
to
don't know.
buy
I
more
think
slots
people
to fit
kinda-
more stuff. Which would be
I just feel like people were trying to find a reason to be mad at ArenaNet over that.
Well, I can understand the concern because
Well,
the whole build
definitely raise the
template
question
thing.
because there is a precedent for
Mhm.
them doing it. But then people being like, I don't know, people just latching on to it. It's like, I mean, granted that was like 2 years, like what was it, 2 years ago at this point.
Was it that long ago?
I think so. Templates.
Jesus.
It's been a while. Yeah, templates came out a while ago.
It's
Well,
like
then
a
it's
lot
late
of
2019.
mentality has shifted, changed. Like a lot of people, sad to say, aren't there that were there. It's like things
Yeah.
could have changed. Philosophy. They might also be, and I think this is my ultimate question. Once we get to the end of all, like talking all this stuff, is this kind of fell under the whole thing of the saga being a replacement for expansions. So it's kind of the remainder of that, of an expansion like feature that they could just deliver to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that would ultimately be my question is, did that live up to that? Which, but, yeah, I don't know. I don't think it ever hit me that was going to be a nickel and dimed thing. I could have seen them being like, if you want access to this feature, but once you have it type thing, just to supplement the cost of it being like an expansion. But
but like I could also see why people make that. Like I could see why people can see like different of elements of the armory being something that they could sell. So they asked, and
EA exists, so if something is monetizable, somebody can figure out how to monetize it in the worst way possible. So I don't blame people for, like, ArenaNet has never EA'd us. At least I don't feel like they've screwed us to a level that EA screws its own players, but I can totally understand why people are worried about that happening, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I see it, but I understand of the faulty logic behind it.
It's just the precedence, really. It's only due to the precedence that people ask. I mean, it makes sense. I'm in the same boat as you. Like, I did not even think about that until people asked.
No, I didn't either. It didn't even occur to me. I was literally like, "Yay! Finally, Legendary Armory." Been waiting. I don't know how long. Ever since templates came in for that. Awesome.
Well, I was gonna say, didn't they talk about it during the saga announcement? Like during the Icebrood Saga, like it was as supposed to be kind of like, oh, this is one of the features that will be.
I totally forgot I totally forgot when they announced they were going to do Armory.
They talked about it.
I think it was just like an image of them showing the person like sparkling when they switched.
Oh, that was template swapping.
That was template swapping.
That was the template swapping video. Yeah. Because it has a small particle effect and.
Okay.
And
that's true.
But they talked about the armory, and even on the inception of the Legendary Armory, when it was talked about, if I recall it correctly, I'd have to go back and find the blog post because human memory is faulty. Everything that they said about it made it seem like they were just going to release it as a feature. It was going to be a thing that when you bound a legendary item to your account, it would be available to every single character on your account, which is why I went so gung-ho about finishing the Ascension, because for the longest time playing this game, or at least at the very beginning, getting a decent back item for a character in vanilla in classic Guild Wars 2 was a pain in the ass. You either had to get a unique drop, you had to settle for an exotic craft, or you had to throw just a lot of stuff into the Mystic Forge.
Yeah.
So having access to a legendary back item, great, perfect. This means I have a Warhorn available to everybody, and I have a back piece available to everybody. Not that Warhorn's going to get a lot of use on everybody, but
hey, don't know elite specs. Every
true.
How do you think we're getting to Cantha? We're going to be in a boat, and everybody's got to use their new Warhorn spec to blow into the sail.
I was gonna say, for me, I have a short bow, a Warhorn, and a focus.
Arlie can be annoying on all of her short bow using characters.
Yes.
Well, never group them with Arlie now.
And then Age will just be set.
Flames out.
They're not gonna do underwater probably, but I'm missing the trident, and I'm missing a hammer, a focus,
They would.
and
They
a
have to
mace. But
include
I'm
the
close to the mace.
underwater ones.
They're not
Like,
gonna do They didn't do underwater for Gen 2.
Well, no, not.
oh no, not new ones, but to be included in the armory.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, in
yeah.
the armor. Yeah.
I was gonna-
That would be a whole new low of we don't care about underwater comp. Like,
Yeah, it would.
oh yeah, that's a thing. We didn't even put that. Ooh.
It's like, oh, you know that.
Do you think right now one of them
is
is listening to that and they're like, oh yeah, we totally didn't forget that.
Rionette, we need underwater just to make
Yes.
sure.
honestly with I'm really hoping that we see kind of a like they did all that effort
Well, I mean-
to fix underwater combat.
I mean, if we
They're not
go
doing
if we
anything
go to
with
the deep sea dragon, it seems like we're going after the deep sea dragon. I mean, what if
the
the
last one
third
left.
the third gen legendaries they're just underwater?
Oh God.
It's just three. It's just three weapons. That's it.
Yeah.
Here you go.
You know how we have like the all-time Reddit post in Guild Wars 2? That would be like the fourth one.
Mm-hmm.
It's like one of the other ones was, you know, we all joked about, you know, the medium legendary armor just being yet another trench coat,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yet again
Yeah,
trench
no.
coat.
I mean, as long as you're not in combat, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, before we get too off track talking about trench coats, there are also several ongoing summer events that are happening in between all this. May 14th and July 23rd, there's going to be a week-long bonus in WW. May 25th, PvP League Season 27 will start with a week-long bonus. June 1st is going to start a Fractal Rush event. June 18th is going to start a WW No Downstate event. June 22nd, Dragon Bash again, which I wonder if we're going to have new decorations because we have bashed 2 more dragons.
Probably, yeah.
Yay.
So, got that. And then July 5th, SPVP Tournament Week and the Tournament of Legends.
Awesome.
So that giant ass, that's a roadmap. That's a big mother fluffing roadmap. So, thoughts? I know, Deo, you were away for the bit with the marionette.
Yeah, but I
and for
remember reading about all this stuff. But.
Do you want to start with the End of Dragon stuff first, then? Like, just go top down.
No, just top down, whatever you guys want to pick about.
I think End of Dragons is coming out late September, just because it's lining up with Path of Fire release stuff, because they released Path of Fire. That live stream video was that the end of July. And so, and then we did have like a beta weekend. I'm hoping the beta weekend's just available for all modes and not just PvP. I think it was World War II too, but I remember playing a lot of PvP.
I was gonna say I thought it was just PvE.
Was
I
it?
could be wrong.
I don't remember. I remember playing Deadeye a lot in PvP.
I do remember there has already been a closed beta event with the new Elite specs that we talked about months ago at this point.
Yeah, because Hot we just played in the new zones with the Elite specs.
We just got a small slice of Verdant Brink
Yeah.
in the beta weekends.
I'm kind of hoping. I think they're going to do it the way that they did with Path of Fire. But I'm hoping we could just bring it out into the world too. But you never know. I'm hoping that they do more guild-oriented stuff in this expansion, not necessarily like guild halls and things like that.
But updating missions and stuff, maybe.
Yeah, but that's a pipe dream.
The wistfulness from all of us.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it for a long time, but they don't do it. So, and I'm hoping alongside the
precedent
expansion,
there.
I'm hoping alongside the expansion they do a new PvP map, a new Warhorse World map, Cantha themes, and that's pretty much it. I think. I say alongside because they're not tied to expansion, obviously. So
Yeah.
and obviously new raid in like 2 weeks to a month after launch, I guess. I mean, they did it with Hot, so
Okay.
Yeah.
and it's been a while.
Yes. I will agree with that. I don't know.
But
Like the only thing I could think of, or the only question I have is more general. So I don't know if Arlie wants to voice in her thoughts of like each portion of it. But
No, I pretty much agree with what Age was saying, like on the timing and stuff. One thing that I keep going back to of thinking about though was when they started Icebrood Saga, they described it as the end of the beginning of the story of Guild Wars 2. So like finishing what we've done now and whatever epilogue we may end up getting is the end of the beginning, and we're like moving into a new phase almost. So that's what I'm most interested in seeing, like, in how will that be different, like, demonstrably.
Yeah. I agree with you, Age. I do think we're going to see End of Dragons before the end of the year. Like, I agree with that, especially since they're basically saying, here's a new trailer and more information and elite spec information, and it's just like,
yeah,
feels very like, I don't think it's going to be, Mo on a stage saying you can buy it next week or
Wow.
next month or
mostly
whatever.
because Mo isn't there anymore.
I know
Yeah.
that, but like,
it'd be weird if they did though.
brought Mo back to say,
Woo!
well, they have
He's
to,
like, you thought I was gonna be away for ending these mother effing dragons?
do you think they could?
And then
invite
Colin comes out too. It's like ah!
Colin coming out, and he just comes out
on
and
like
says,
on like one of those like little like trains that you see like in like the malls. He's like riding the hype train.
and it just goes across the stage, and he just points to the crowd, Cantha, and it's just that's it. It's over.
That would-
like not
that would
Cantha
be
question
amazing.
mark. It's Cantha exclamation point, and that's it.
And then toot, toot, and just keeps going. And that's all he does. That's all he is for the show. That's all he does. They're like, did we all just see that, or did we
It's just
all
a mass hallucination. It didn't happen.
yeah?
But I'm looking forward primarily to learning about the new elite specs. I am worried, but from what I understand, PvP feels a lot better after the power nerfs. I need to go back in maybe this upcoming Thursday to see how things feel, because there's been a lot of changes since I last PvP'd. But especially with the support nerfs, because that was one of the things that was the most frustrating, is coming up against a bunker build that you literally could not stop. And they could just like kite you and then line of sight and then be fine and then come back out and be able to fight you on the node again, and you just were stuck in an eternal fight that you couldn't get away from. The Marionette I'm super excited for, and the Legendary Armory I'm super excited for, because I feel like the Legendary Armory is really going to push more people to build legendaries, just because you don't have to like fight to use it. I honestly think the Legendary Armory is going to be a big impetus for people to make the legendary runes and sigils.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, that's going to be the big deal. What?
Man, I'm not going through that hell.
No?
Aw.
I mean, you do it, you because what, you have to craft 6 sigils and 4 sigils and 6 runes, right?
Not doing it.
Not doing it? Okay. But then it's like, that's all you ever have to craft ever again, and then you're done. Nope. Okay.
Just gonna. The only time I ever change runes is on my thief when I'm making different builds, and I already have like a whole bunch of 6 stacks of different things. So it's like
Can't you pull stuff out of legendaries for free? Okay.
So I just swap them.
Okay.
I was gonna say, I like how you say, it's only when I play my thief. I'm like, yeah, good thing you never play that thing.
I'm actually like, it's kind of nice to see that they're bringing back literally all of the all of Living World.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna
I'm
be
excited to do
it's
that.
gonna be weird to see Dry Top again.
And yeah, I'm glad that they are redoing these, and it's another opportunity for people to play catch up. And I guess my question is, though, everybody was so hyped up about this, and I guess I'm like now on the flip side of like how what I was complaining about with the other thing is like, it's like seeing this, it's like I'm still curious of like, why why are people hyped up about it? Like, it's great of a catch up thing, but it also feels like this is the same thing of how I always said with underwater combat. It's like Guild Wars 2 has the best underwater combat of an MMO. That is such a low bar. It's like this is a great way to utilize that downtime between your end, whatever your last new content thing is and the expansion. Like, this should have been something that they were constantly doing previous versions. Like, and we've talked about it in the past of like other MMOs. I mean, WoW, everybody's well known about the drought, the drop off thing, and it's like, tends to be fine with it. I think this is an excellent way, but I'm just like, for the amount of that people got so hyped about this, I'm like it almost felt like as equal as them saying like, yeah, we're just gonna give everybody the expansion right here and now, just log in, like. And maybe it was because we've been so starved from knowing anything about the expansion, and like just hearing that, like I was excited for that, but hearing the other things, I'm like, yeah, it'll be cool to go back into, and it's a great opportunity. But I don't know, I just felt like the hype level behind it, I was just like.
So what, you think that the hype over the living story content coming back is a little overblown?
Well, like people were like so excited, and it's like, this is great news and all that stuff. I'm like, I mean,
I think, to be honest,
we've done all this stuff in the past, and it's.
I think, to be honest,
Mhm.
a lot of the hype is coming from the players who missed a lot of the season 1 stuff, and like seeing the marionette and all of that come back, and might not have bought the past seasons and haven't seen that content. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
The continent of the content.
Yeah.
It's I agree with that, with what Arlie, and I think it's I think a lot of the hype I'm seeing is not just for the End of Dragon stuff, it's the sheer bulk of what this roadmap is.
Yeah.
Like the End of Dragon's
we so
first
rarely
look,
get something like this.
The skills and balance update, which is going to be our next topic.
But that's the thing is,
like everything all together.
Okay, but we've gotten all this stuff, like, chat's saying we're getting all the not everybody owns all the seasons. They've done those in the past where it's like, hey, if you log in, you get the past season for free or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
but
they've done that in the past. I know they've done it all in one big heaping thing, which, like I said, it is a great way to utilize this downtime. I think like, it's just I'm surprised by the amount of hype for
I think
not a whole lot of new stuff.
Well, I think part of the ad is the new achievements that they're adding to get both a Gen 3 precursor and a legendary necklace.
Yeah.
Which, I guess this is also my question, is how tough do you think these achievements will be or won't be?
That was one of the things is remains
okay,
to
I wasn't sure if you.
I think that was how I ended the segment, was it remains to be seen what these achievements actually are.
Yeah.
So
hopefully it's not crafting 32 really annoying and frustrating weapons. Like, that would be frustrating.
Well, I was gonna say, it's either gonna be so easy, welfare legendaries, these don't count, you're new, blah blah blah, whatever from those people.
I don't care. People can say that. If that's what it is, I don't give a damn.
Still purple. I don't care. Or it's gonna be so tough, no one be able to do it, not worth it type thing. Like, I don't know. It's just like, I don't see. I mean, granted, welcome to the internet. People are gonna complain either way, but it's like, I'm just.
Okay,
I'm curious to see where it's gonna stand, like where that difficulty level is gonna be.
I think they'll be doable, because for me, one of the hardest achievements in Living Story Season 2 was that dragon fight in Caledon Forest at the top, where you fight that dragon, you have to avoid stuff. So I think that was one of the hardest things. I think it'll be somewhere along those lines, if anything. But I think it's really good. I think overall the Living Story is good, just because, one, yes, people who don't have those episodes can get those episodes. 2, it entices new players to actually go and explore that content. 3, it allows veteran players to have something meaningful to do in terms of new meta achievements, and for both new and existing players, they both have the opportunity to get the legendary amulet and the new legendary weapon. And I do like the reuse of content. because also there are some players who haven't experienced that content who may want the achievements to do things, but there may have not been not a lot of people doing that content at the time, and so it kind of refills those maps with people doing all the new achievements and things like that. So it's good for those people as well. And like you said, it kind of fills the gap in time for actually, till they're waiting for End of Dragons. Is the hype super exaggerated? I would say, like, I'm not really hyped for it. I'm glad I can get a free precursor and like a amulet, but I'm not like super hyped. Like, I'm just like excited that I can do that stuff.
I will say what it does make me hopeful for, because I think we've talked about this in the past, was like, oh, we've talked about the Scarlet thing and like that char that fell through a portal and like, different versions of timelines and the mists and, it's like, and we were always saying like, if they could figure out, we always felt like maybe those old maps were broken, kind of like how, Super Venture Box was for the longest time, and they figured out how to piecemeal the things back together. Now that they figured out how to redo the Twisted Marionette, or basically repurposed it or revitalized it, hopefully they might introduce something where it'll be accessible even more outside of this, not even on like a timer, but like kind of going back to that whole like stuff for like guilds. What if a guild could summon the Twisted Marionette on a, my dog just kind of
Guild mission system.
But they like, how the
guild
guilds could like
mission?
summon the Karka Queen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if they could like open up a portal, be like, okay guys, we're turning this map into a Twisted Marionette, or it opens up a portal to a separate version of a map.
Okay,
so
guild, we're going to fight the attack on Lion's Arch.
Mm-hmm.
like,
That
yeah,
would be
it would be a rift in time that takes you back to one of those things, or it's
Okay.
but
That'd be a cool fact.
I'm hopeful that maybe that might lead to something like that, of them using it more regularly.
Okay, in sense of brevity, we will move continued discussion to after show, because one of these things that we mentioned was a balance update on the 11th of May. This is big. It is bonkers, because we're getting some crazy shit. There is a new boon called Resolution. It is going to be replacing Retaliation. It is going to be paired with Protection, and it will reduce condition damage by 33%, stacking duration. Unless otherwise specified, skills and traits that formerly granted Retal now use Resolution. Guardian's going to be way different. 7-bit seems pretty
That's the one thing I liked about Retaliation. I hate this.
You do?
Yeah, I loved it. I love Retaliation for my Revenant. And I know basically all the Revenant changes are basically addressing all that.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how things are going to settle, but yeah, I'm not a fan of this personally.
It's going to be weird, because there are some like champion level enemies that, like, what is the Orion Eyes have phases that they apply just a massive, like, you have to strip it, like it's permanent Retal, and now it's going to be Resolution, and it's not going to be a problem anymore, because people are just going to fight through it, because the problem with the Orion Eyes is you'd kill yourself attacking them. So I'm not sure.
Dale just can't say anymore. Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself.
No, I was about to say, it's an attack on me personally. They did it on Guardian. Reflect Wall can't reflect half the majority of things. So I was like, oh, let me go to Revenant that has Retaliation that reflects basically the damage. Nope, not anymore.
So basically, don't ever play what Deo mains. It's going to get nerfed.
Yeah.
Yeah, Reflect Wall on Guardian can't reflect bears.
Bull.
But
or bulls.
Or, yeah, any thrown animals, not projectiles. They go right through the wall. The next big boon change is Resistance now only affects non-damaging conditions. Which, personally, I feel like is fine, because now you have Resolution. Like, I know, Deo, you're not a fan of Resolution, but now that Resolution exists, you don't have a single boon that completely shuts down Condi builds. You have a response to it, but not a complete mitigation of it.
Right.
Personally, I feel like resistance should be removed, should not be corruptible at this point. Like, I think resistance should be strippable, but not corruptible. Like,
What does it corrupt to?
It switches it to a designated other condition. Like I know that's a big thing with. Yeah, I was gonna say I know that's a big thing with. Like, so wait, the other you're trying to tell me now you want it to be the other profession I like, Necro, that can do that to people. You want to take that away from me too?
Resistance.
I was about to say, I feel like all boons should be corruptible.
My problem with resistance being corruptible is that the people who have corrupts are usually Condi specs.
Mm-hmm.
But being able to immediately counter the thing that is meant to defend against you is kind of bad design.
Right.
Like the whole point, like they introduced resistance and scourges in the same expansion. But my problem is scourges can just look at your resistance and say, that's chill now.
Mm-hmm.
So
what if they made it where resolution, even though I hate it, was like designated as like the last one to always go?
Well, resistance would be the last to go. Because my problem is that like I don't mind resistance not affecting damaging Condi. My problem is that it's corruptible into a movement impairing Condi.
Oh, okay. Or okay, whatever like that one would be the last one to go. Like what?
I mean,
would that make it?
You would get rid of boon strip in that case, right? Because you could just take it. So it's just counterplay to boons, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Corruption is like a counter to boons.
Mm-hmm. It's
so
like
if you're running a boon, if you're running like a Revenant Herald that has a ton of boons, you can corrupt that. It's just counterplay.
My whole opinion is boon strip is like tier 1 boon counter, and then boon steal and boon corrupt are like tier 2 counters.
Yeah.
And it's just like the more powerful option because, and it's the same because like in boon steal, it's like your power is now mine, and then boon corrupt is your power is now hurting you. But my whole problem is like resistance by and of itself is countered by the thing it's like by the specs that it's meant to defend against is my issue. Like most of the classes that have a lot of Condi also have a lot of things to strip, corrupt, or steal boons. So it's one of those things that's just like I throw up resistance and now I don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my biggest problem is that it's just
that's my one joy in War v World when they all get their like 25 stacks of might and all that stuff and they're like, hey, we're gonna fight damage. I'm like, now you're the problem.
Yeah.
I'm hanging in the back, just changing all the stuff around.
Turns into chill for those who don't want it to know. But if that was the case, I would just turn resistance into like not a boon, but like a
not boon buff.
Not boon buff.
Knock him down.
That's it.
Yeah, one of those like unique buffs, as opposed to something out like make it something outside of the boon condition, like dynamic. Yeah, that's probably what
I would say, like worst case, I would change the corrupt to cripple because I feel like cripple isn't the worst boon to get if you get corrupted rather than chilled, because chilled slows your recharge of skills as well as slows you. So.
Yeah. But before we get too deep in the weeds on just that, to move on to the other big change, Torment now does bonus damage to targets that stand still instead of moving, which is a huge nerf to PvP content and a massive buff to PvE content.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for PvP Mirages.
Well, they got a huge buff anyway. So. I would say,
Mesmers are used to it by now.
I would just overall, before we get into like each professions, I would just say that this felt more like a PvE type of buff, primarily for boss slash raid encounters. It does complement like other modes as well, but it just feels like it's mostly for that PvE content.
Mafongo,
So,
I don't know a single person in any kind of PvP content that doesn't move constantly. Like that just
Yeah.
I'm bad.
I mean, it promotes using immobilize and knockdown more, I guess, to get more out of torment, but it depends on the build that you have, I guess.
Moving on to other stuff so we can get through the classes because there's a lot of profession specific changes. Boon caps: alacrity, fury, protection, resolution, quickness, resistance, swiftness, vigor. You know, the main boons all have a hard cap of 30 seconds now. Condis: blinded, chilled, crippled, immobilized, slow, and weakness have a cap of 10 seconds. So you're not going to be stuck in combat with a 3-minute cripple on you from certain enemies in PvE anymore. They specifically call out PvE encounters where you're stuck in combat 5 ever because you don't have a Condi cleanse and you're crippled.
Yup. Drives me crazy.
It's annoying. It's just ridiculous. Huge change that will actually make me want to play my Firebrand some more. Mantras for both Mesmers and Firebrands. There will no longer be preparing of mantras. Firebrand mantras no longer have a more powerful final charge. Mesmer mantras no longer do something when you prepare them. They are just an ammunition system skill.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Which I believe when they talked about it in the blog post, let me grab the link for chat, just so you guys can follow along here. Sorry, I didn't put it there. Paste. They lament the fact that they couldn't make it like maintain the flavor of like Mesmer's having that extra thing that happened and Firebrand's having something that happened on the final charge. I suppose there were ways to, like Mesmer's, you could do it so it's just like after you use X number of mantras of that type, do an effect. Firebrands, if you use a mantra X number of times in a window of time, it does a bonus effect they could have done. To make you actually want to like burst out the mantras instead of spread them out. But that's currently like that can be something they put in later, but I'm personally okay with this and I won't hate playing my Firebrand constantly.
Yeah, because it's just a lot of the prep. I feel like the prep stuff was the major issue just because if you mount up, if you move a map, if you reset in a boss fight.
Mounting up they fixed.
Oh, okay.
Mounting up they fixed. The bigger
So
problem
I
was
thought they did that at the same time they did with like the Revenant Dragon stand.
Yeah.
Like, ugh.
But the biggest problem I had was when if my skill bar in underwater was different from my skill bar on land, when I came up out of the water, I'd have to re-prepare the mantras. So I just made all of my underwater skill bar the same as my on land skill bar because I didn't want to deal with that anymore. But I'm okay with this. Like it will make it better, and if they want to add like that unique spec flavor for Mesmers and Firebrands, they can do something in the future. And yeah, 7-bit. There's going to be a lot of stuff for like opening up the niches for the EOD elite specs. I agree with that. And now for something completely different, Defiance Bar quality of life improvements.
Yay.
To
Can they
better
put
indicate
that on the last the living story thing too? Like make it actually.
To better indicate which skills deal defiance damage, icons within the school tooltips that represent applied control effects are now purple. The exposed effect is that is placed on on many boss enemies when their defiance bar is broken has been adjusted. It now increases power damage taken by 30% and Condi damage taken by 100%.
Hey.
It's just general, like, I don't know if this is going to stop longbow rangers from blowing point blank shot on cooldown for damage.
No.
It's probably not. But 100% might be a bit too much for Condi 7-bit, but you know.
No.
I play Condi too, Arlie. It might be a bit much.
You are crazy.
Damage identifier quality of life improvements. Text on many damaged increasing profession traits, runes, and sigils have been clarified to indicate whether they increase outgoing strike damage, condition damage, or all damage. So, good that they're, designating that. Items, the Superior Sigil of the Stars now also increases concentration and expertise. The Celestial Stat combination on gear now also increases concentration and expertise. The per stat value has not been decreased. So, Celestial literally just got 2 more lines of stats to it.
Yeah.
At the same value as everything on that piece of gear. Like, I want to say, I have a greatsword that's a Celestial greatsword on my warrior. It's 113 as an exotic. So it just got 113 concentration and 113 expertise in addition to everything else. Some new Celestial builds. Yeah, that'll be interesting, 7-bit. Mounts. Huge change here. Griffin's Swoop now deals damage based on velocity. Which could lead to some interesting group initiations on some bounties, but...
Mm-hmm.
Now, finally, profession changes. This is huge. I don't really want to spend too much time on this because we might be here a very long time.
Well, and it might be the big topic because isn't it dropping
May 11th?
The week after?
Yeah.
So
it's
we would probably be going through it as well.
15th. Yeah, we can probably talk a lot about that on the 15th because this is just a preview. This isn't everything guaranteed.
Everything's guaranteed. They never change it.
Well, that's true. Everything's on the table. So for you guys who've looked through it, is there anything that stands out for you? Age, I know there's been a lot of changes for Thief. So
actually, the first thing I want to talk about is the Guardian, the Virtue one. They actually did have Power Virtuous reworked. So Guardians now gain Condi damage based on Vitality, and Virtues gain Reduced Recharge, which I think is a really good one. I don't know if Guardians actually use that a lot, but it's really... I feel like that's a really cool trait. Change.
Is that in addition to? Oh, no, it's been reworked. Okay.
Yeah, it's reworked, yeah.
So Power of the Virtuous right now is 1% increased damage per boon. And the Virtue Recharge is... That's the Grandmaster Minor, so everybody has that.
Yeah. Oh, okay, so that's
so
perfect.
If you just take the Virtues trait line, you immediately get bonus Condi based on your Vitality.
Yeah, so I feel like that's a really cool condition damage little bonus there based on your Vitality, because you already have low Vitality by default. So like in a raid setting, if you take that, it's actually really good because you just get that extra bonus based on your base Vitality. So it's not bad.
One of the things, you brought up Guardian before you finish your thought here. They called out that literally every damage dealing spec for Guardian has both Zeal and Radiance. So they're aiming changes to try and break that, which I'm cool with that. Although I will also say, to piggyback on your topic about Power of the Virtuous, a 10% stat swap on a minor trait is kind of surprising. I don't know if there's a lot of that. That's a lot of power out of a minor trait. So,
yeah.
But please continue.
The other one, big one, was Mesmer, Staff, Mirage, Axe, and both of their auto attacks are really good, at least from what I've seen. So they doubled basically the might that you get on auto attacks in PvP and World's World, and they quadrupled it in PvE. And for Staff, you actually do a Condi, so you get Confusion, and on bounces you do first target is Torment, the subsequent targets are Confusion, and if you hit allies they gain Might
and Fury.
And Fury. There you go.
And that's just the auto attack on Staff. They also buff the ambush on Staff for Mirages.
So what was the other one? The other one was... There was something else. think it was there was something else in Mesmer, but overall Mesmer looks like they got decent stuff in there, so it looks really cool. And one of the other ones that was very interesting was where was it? It was Warrior Rifle. It got reworked
Again.
Yeah. So they're trying to make it more AoE based. So I'm definitely gonna see some Rifle Warriors when that patch lands. Explosive Shelter seems pretty good. It's like kind of like if anyone plays League of Legends, Graves is ultimate, where you just shoot someone, you hit a target, and it explodes in a cone to everyone in the back of that target. So it seems pretty good. Yeah, and last one is Thief. Getting a lot of Condi, bleeds galore. I already made a few builds, so that'll be fun. And yeah, it kind of complements the new boon of resolution. So there's now a bleed trait that inflicts 25% more damage. So basically, if you have resolution on, it's an 8% damage bonus. So it seems like it works out overall. And preparedness got expertise. So
Was it the whole thing with Thief is they wanted to bring Condi back to PvE? Was their goal?
they made a mistake. You're gonna have a lot of Condi thieves in competitive, and it's going to cause a lot of complaints. Again, I just already see it, so I'm just gonna enjoy it while it lasts.
I just Condi Daredevil thieves are going to be back, and it's just going to be flip, flip, flip,
Poison,
flip.
yeah,
flip.
7-bit poison is already pretty good with deadly arts, so they just buff poison too. So now it's poison and bleeds. So if you take deadly arts trickery, you're just like playing double daggers, short bow, and daredevil. Deadly arts trickery, daredevil, and double daggers with short bow is pretty much what we're probably gonna see. So
I was going to say, Arlie, they nerfed us, but you don't play Tempest.
No, yeah, I was gonna say the elemental list changes are actually pretty decent for me.
Yeah, because the Warhorn. Actually, no, you don't play Tempest. You play Weaver, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I use dagger and focus as my offhand, so like none of the changes really affect me.
Yeah. They reduced the power coefficient on Warhorn 5 for air, the lightning orb, which can't say I'm surprised that skill hit really goddamn hard.
Yes. Yeah.
well, then, so yeah, most of the changes, if there are minor, is that they're balancing out power into Condi. So just have more options. They're trying to make more options available to, like, if you play power of this class, and if you want to play Condi of this class, like the power discrepancy isn't so vast that one is better than the other. I think that's what they're trying to go for.
Pew Pew and Pew also brings up the potential AoE days and weakness. Rangers with Call of the Wild, it's now an AoE days and weakness.
Oh.
Yeah. Call of the Wild reduced animation aftercast by approximately 0.5 seconds. Pet's next few attacks are no longer unblockable. This skill now dazes and weakens nearby enemies when cast. Daze is 2 seconds in PvE and WW, but 1 second in PvP. And I know they mentioned lesser Clarion Bond, so there's going to be a lesser Call of the Wild hit at some point.
I think that's more for raids. Honestly, that feels like what it is. But I am glad that Sickham's getting nerfed, because screw all those World versus World Rangers. I hate them so much.
Hey.
It's not enough damage. It needs to be down to 20 or 15.
Yeah.
It's too much.
That's fair.
I got hit. Look, I legit got hit with a Ranger barrage, and I survived it. I got away. Another Ranger hit me with another barrage, and I tried to heal, and they knocked me as I was healing. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna stand here and die. I'm not dealing with this.
Yeah. Wow.
Now
it's a problem.
I do agree that they are allowing the bonus to stay the 40% while unmerged. So clearly they understand that the problem with Sikkim is a merged Soul Beast, which has always been the problem with Sikkim on Soul Beast. But again, this is all tentative stuff. We'll be talking more about this whenever we really get into it. Whenever it Barrage does not lock you in.
Barrage is not the problem. Barrage is not the problem. Rapid fire into Soul Beast with Sikkim and haste is the problem.
Well, Barrage is what, like a 2.5 second cast? It's not even like you're not even gonna hit that many ticks of it.
Yeah.
So
I'm not sure if this Sikkim actually solves the problem. We'll see, but I don't know Ranger well enough. But from what I've seen, it's like the combination of Sikkim, haste,
I don't think it does.
rapid fire is too much because it's doing 12 to 15k within 3 seconds at 1500 range. That's kind of broken.
Yeah. But we could talk about this 5-ever, and I know Arlie, you said you have to get going here shortly, so let's motor. We can talk about the rest of this stuff later. Big savings on Guild Wars 2 gem cards in Europe, because they did this in Latin America. They're going to be doing this in Europe now. Blog post, 20% off gem cards valued at 2,000 gems and 50% off Path of Fire Standard and Deluxe editions at participating retailers. I'm just going to grab the blog post and slap this here because I'm not going to try and speak other languages. Like, wait, GameLiba.com, GamesCardsDirect. I'm going to assume .com, cdgalaxis.hu, key4u.cz, and licentejokuri.com.
That wasn't that bad. There you go.
Was that-
Not terrible.
Well, I'm glad they're doing this because I know that's always been the criticism when it's like, hey, there's a sale on this, and then you find out, oh, it's for NA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just US, or it's like, I'm glad that they're finally able to do more.
Because like Guild Wars is more I feel like it's more popular in Europe than in NA.
Yeah.
In particular.
I know that used to be the case. I have no idea the numbers nowadays, but I would imagine that would still probably be a pretty solid bet.
Yep. Now, that's a perfect first image. I'm gonna imagine like they're gonna be doing this in multiple different regions, because if they're leapfrogging elsewhere outside of NA, like, hooray, that's cool to see. But grab your cards while you can. And our last story before Community Corner. PCGamesN chooses Guild Wars 2 as one of its best story games for PC in 2021. A story with multiple outcomes, depending on your choices and actions, is extremely uncommon for an MMORPG like Guild Wars 2. Unlike other games in the genre, Guild Wars 2 ditches traditional fetch quests and opts for a cinematic campaign filled with dynamic events that crop up in a gorgeous world. Guild Wars 2's main story branches out based on your decisions, forcing you to deal with the fallout of each one. For example, if you take on and fail to kill a group of provoked enemies, it's likely they'll make an appearance at another later date, possibly even more hostile than your last encounter.
Are they talking about the personal story?
I would assume so.
But it doesn't like.
I don't know if
they played through the whole story.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I don't think they did.
Yeah,
either.
there are those like things where it does shift it around, but in the end, and that was everybody's complaint of. At least I remember the core game was it branched off and then it all converged back and
if you're you're telling people it's a branching story, they're going to expect something way different.
I mean, that's why people got mad at Mass Effect. So, PCGamesN, thank you for pointing more people to us, but also maybe have somebody play through the whole story before you.
But if they did, like, oh my god.
At the very least, play through the whole personal story.
Or is it multiple outcomes in the sense of like I have now a level 80 ranger, now I have a level 80 necro, now I have a level 80.
Yeah.
I do. Jesus. I will say,
like you're right, 7-bit. Like
I don't feel like they.
But that's not an outcome.
Yeah.
if it's
Like things
converging,
happen during the story that do
I don't think they played
happen
past
depending
Claw
on
Island. That's what I
choices
feel
that you
like.
made. Yeah. But it's not the end of the story. Like the story still ends up in the same point. And then once you get past the personal story, then like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's kind of
and
weird
I
that
mean,
they
I do
kind
like
of
Guild Wars
released
2,
this.
but it's yeah. I think we all had the same reaction when Jim was reading, and he was like, "Just let me finish before we clearly point it out."
Yeah.
We're all like, "Hmm."
I personally don't feel like they played past Claw Island when I read this.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird that they put it out at the end of Icebrood Saga when a lot of people aren't enjoying Icebrood Saga. So it's like kind of weird that, yeah.
Well, I feel
I will
when
like,
it comes to story, a lot of people aren't enjoying you can fill that in with anything because they've tried a lot of different story ways of telling story or doing things in story.
Hmm.
And like there are people who enjoy it and there are vocal people who say it's trash no matter what they do. I feel like we've been in that cycle for a long time.
yes, but it's more vocal with Icebrood Saga, I would say, than any other than since personal story, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's just because it's recent and it's been so long since we've had anything other than Icebrood Saga. Because Icebrood Saga's been going on for a long time now. But every time we get to an end of a season or something, it's always been people like, oh, well, that sucked, you know, or even throughout the seasons.
I don't think they said that for Living World Season 4. I don't.
Oh, which one was for? Remind me, I'm sorry.
It was the Crocotoric one.
That was oh
That
yeah.
was for.
People were unhappy with that. Like the way especially the
Really?
Krakotork fight and like some of the build up to how it was like I feel like people are in a constant
Huh.
state of not liking how the story is being done
Oh
regardless.
yeah, season 4. You mean when Aurene, like, people were very irritated
Mhm.
by the backtracking or the undoing of things. I mean,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I like seasons. What was
especially
it?
because they built that up so much during that, like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
everybody's sad about it, and they're like, hey, it's
Yep.
Oh, when they brought her back. Yeah, I guess so.
yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yep.
Hmm. I still feel like in terms of storytelling, Living Story Season 4 was better. Like 3 and 4, I feel like were pretty decent in terms of storytelling.
Yeah, I can
Oh yeah.
understand that thought. Yeah.
Yeah, 7-bit, you're right. Like, people are complaining about Icebrood Saga the exact same complaints they had about Season 4. So
All of it.
it's just like, what are you going to do, right?
All of it and any game on the internet.
Pretty much.
Yep.
But that's, it's a day that ends in Y, so somebody's complaining about something, right?
No.
But I think we can move on from that to happier things like Community Corner,
Yay.
where we've
Yay.
been talking to 7-bit in chat for the whole time. Today we spotlight 7-bit in Community Corner. Project Tyria from 7-bit Brian. He is making use of World Anvil. Google, can you stop doing the redirect thing from this? Thank you. God damn it. Pop that in chat. 7-bit is working to create Tyria in a D&D 5th edition format.
Yay.
Which is honestly really, really goddamn cool. A translation of the Guild Wars franchise's races, classes, subclasses, and more into the D&D format allows you to play a complete campaign in the Tyrian setting, in the maps and areas you know, using the spells and abilities you know. Includes 10 races: Human, Char, Norn, Asura, Sylvari, Dwarf, Coden, Largos, Quaggan, and Tengu. The 9 classes with a subset of subclasses: Guardian, Revenant, Warrior, Engineer, Ranger, Thief, Elementalist, Mesmer, Necromancer. I'm going to assume the elite specs are the subclasses. Custom monsters with stat blocks: the Dredge, Harpy, Etten, Crate, Troll, Centaur, Jotun, Djinn, etc. Custom spells, 5 level 1 starting adventures with maps, and more. Honestly, 7-bit, I love this. This is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be
That's
really
awesome.
interesting to see, and I will say this right now. If you need help playtesting anything or want any assistance whatsoever, shoot me a DM on Discord. I will be happy to help, because game design stuff is something I love. And I also
Yes.
spent a lot of time in college when we were playing D&D 3.5 making my own prestige classes. So I've done this at least a little bit, and it might actually give me an excuse to buy 5th edition books. So
5th edition is so good, man.
I have so many 4th edition books. I've yet to buy the 5th edition core books. So
Will you be implementing the Defiance quality of life feature into your...
Oh God.
make sure there are special
and keep retaliation.
yeah, D&D is your full-time job, I know, which is fucking awesome. But
That's awesome.
and then you can combine like your pastime of Guild Wars 2 with your job. But
Eesh.
y'all have anything else to say about 7-Bit's undertaking?
No, I know I've seen other people talk about this. I know I've talked about this with a couple people. I granted I've never really had a huge understanding / background in D&D. I've always appreciated it. So I'm glad to finally see someone actually taking the actual moves towards it, whereas
Yeah.
I feel like it always like fizzled out, or it was
Oh,
just
yeah.
like a carbon, like they were just basically putting a template over the standard rules, whereas this feels actual tuning of the characters, instead of like I've seen people like, oh, Guild Wars 2 warrior, well, it can just be a warrior in thing. It's like it can't just be exactly the same. So
Yeah.
I'm glad and excited to see what comes of it.
It's something I wanted to do for a long time, but I've never had time to do, so I'm excited somebody is doing it.
Definitely. So, with that, a great way to end this show, which I'm surprised we kept it to 2 hours. That's going to be it for this week. So, we're going to do the outros now. So, Arlie, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Arlie82 and writing things at mmorpg.com.
Awesome. And Age, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter and YouTube at Ignite Road. I will, May 11th, will be probably just going through different builds of the Thief stuff. Just going to see me bodying people with Condi. And next week, if anyone's interested in Apex Legends, the new season comes out, so I'll play a lot of that. Yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. And finally, Deo, where can they find you?
You can find me at simply_Deo on Twitch and Twitter. Usually stream on Mondays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. Mondays tend to be Warframe, and Thursdays kind of open to anything else. But I mean, also, now seems like the Norn story's over. Got to give it a proper send-off.
Oh, there we go.
Worthy of a Norn.
Chug. No, don't do that. I don't want to see death on this Twitch channel.
Yeah, I will not. Well, no, that would be a spoiler for the story.
And finally, you can find me on Twitter at MalthanusMMO. And this channel's live Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays. Tuesday is our group game shenanigans. I kind of want to attempt to get guild missions going again, because we have a whole bunch of updates to the guild hall that we could make that we need to get favor for. So we actually have to do guild missions. So I'm going to try and organize those for this upcoming Tuesday community stream for the group game shenanigans. And Thursday, it's usually some kind of PvP. I've played League of Legends. I've played Apex. I've played Guild Wars 2 PvP. It's how Zero to Hero started on Thursdays. So 8 p.m. Eastern time for both Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then we'll be back live on Saturday for more Talking Skritt. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much for watching. We hope you have a fantastic evening, and we will catch you next time. Good night, everybody.
Bye.